Okay, this is video 3 of this code review series. The first thing I want to do is run cargo install cargo watch. Cargo watch, and we're going to run cargo install cargo next test. These are going to just be some utilities I'm going to run in the background as I do the work as sort of my continuous integration or continuous whatever. It's always going to be building and making sure that I haven't screwed anything up. So let's look at our lib. Our lib has a bunch of modules and one private module. We have handlers, requests, responses, and server. This makes sense. The server is obviously going to be the meat of the project, so let's go ahead and go into there. Looking at the top, I see we're not using Tokyo. We're not using async. I already sort of knew that looking at this before, that he's going to try to use threading to do all of the work. I'm going to strongly recommend to make the decision to go to threading earlier rather than, or to go to a asynchronous mechanism rather than this. It's going to be way more, I don't want to say it's going to be way more performant, but it is much more typical for this type of application. It's going to be hard for me not to just start converting to that now, but we'll see where we go. Thread pool is pulling in self. I don't really like that myself, personally. Personally want to pull in everything individually instead of trying to pull in self. But that's, I can probably delete self actually, and it'll build fine. We'll come back to that. We have a server error, so he's created his own error class here. I often like to use anyhow simply to bundle up any sort of error into a unified error system, and I don't have to worry about errors or creating my own. Sort of a personal opinion, I guess. We'll see where that goes. Cargo run, cargo watch -x build. So I'm going to run cargo watch here in the background to have this always compile. The reason is like I can delete like that and save it and see if it compiles. And like I see now that this starts to break a lot of things here now. So what does it break? Man, it just ruins the whole thing once I put that in place. Just look at the first one. So this calls in undeclared creator module request. So this would be, if I did that, that's going to clear up most of the errors except for one. We can't find request here. So request : request like that, and now we're good. So you sort of need to say, well, at what point are we going to import something where we have access to that namespace? It's okay to do the self thing. I definitely don't want to do star in some of the works that I'm doing. Just for kicks, I'm going to do this one too, which will probably break that. So now we're cleaner. This is more of a personal sort of thing. I don't like pulling in self out of a module, and I often like to be very explicit about this, but I don't want to do create : down in the body of my code. So pulling in the top level modules like this, I think, is the right way to go. This way, as you refactor it and you move thread pool into its own crate, you're not going to be you're not going to be beholden to this crate sort of thing. You can change it at the top, and everything down below just falls out. So we're good. We're building. Let me just go ahead and push this. Changed use statements. Okay. Good. I think, and I could be wrong. Okay. For server error, that does not implement display. Okay. I thought that if you derive debug, you sort of automatically get display, but I was wrong. And this is fine. This is probably the right thing to do. And okay. So we're still building clean. Impl error. This is just to give it a what do they call it? Tracker trait, or what's the traits called? Marker trait. Derive debug on server. So we have a TCP listener, a pool, and a handlers. And the handler is going to map a request. This is our own defined request to a handler. So I'm guessing when we get a new request from the client, we're going to turn that into a request and find the handler for that request in our map. Okay. I think that's solid. Let me just look at our thread pool. Our thread pool has workers. Our thread pool is not actually working, but we'll get to that. Okay, so here's the first, not the first, first sort of real critique of this. We have the build. We're trying to use the sort of builder pattern, and this is used often in Rust crates to be able to build up the configuration of a value programmatically. However, just looking at the signature of it, this is not a builder. This is a constructor. So the way that this is different is that builders are going to return an object that's not actually the end object that we want to create, but it returns this object that we can then call additional methods on in order to construct the configuration of the object. And only once we're done building it do we sort of finalize, which generates the actual server object that we have. So a couple of things. One is, well, kind of the main thing is that the builder here is wanting to use these two as their build, the build mechanism that it's going to use to continue to build itself. But there's no point in time where the build is done and you return a sort of immutable version of the server that is completely ready to go. So I will want to break this up into an actual server builder object that is only going to accumulate, in this case, the handlers and the requests. And then there's going to be a sort of a finalize method on this that will actually generate the server. That, I think, is a better way to do this. And that will pull run, that will make run really be the only method of a server. And I want to do that work in the next video. Just because that sort of refactoring deserves its own sort of video to talk about, and we're about at that 10-minute mark. So we're going to close this out. See you in the next video where we are going to refactor the server into a server builder sort of object that's going to build the server and a finalize to generate the final version of that. See you in that next video.